Welcome back to It's All Light. I'm your host, Natalie Baugh, and today's special guest is Ian Thomas. You can say hi.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
Okay, so I'm trying to remember. I think I met Ian in fifth grade. Am I wrong?
I, I think it's fifth grade, fifth or fourth grade.
At
It's
Summit
been a long
Academy.
time.
Yeah, we were at the same charter school from fifth to ninth grade, then high school, 10th through. Were you at Alta 10th through 12th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I was at Alta then.
So from fifth grade to graduation, I've been with Ian.
Yes.
That's so awesome. Just, yeah.
It's been a long road. We've gone to Summit together and then to Alta together. I could talk about Summit Academy for hours,
Oh man,
probably.
yeah. Summit Academy was great and lots of things. And then you went to BYU, yeah?
I went to I went to BYU for a semester, but then I
Okay.
went to the University of Utah for the rest of
So
my
you're a U
college
grad
collegiate career. I am, yeah.
and you
My
studied.
parents almost
Oh.
disowned me because I went to BYU, but
My family's
I switched.
yeah, my family is our Ute fans. There we go. Our Ute
Uh,
fans. Yeah. Um I would consider going to the U for like a master's program or something.
yeah,
Associates
it's a
at
great place.
UVU, bachelor's at BYU, master's at the U. Might as well just hit them all.
Nice, yeah.
So Ian, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I went to the U. I graduated this spring. I studied applied mathematics, which is just like math with fancy stuff added to it. I want to go into data science, and I would love to do sports data science. So that's the goal,
That's
is to do
so
sports data
cool.
science.
So what got you interested in that and why did you choose that?
I just thought it was really cool that you could take math and put it into sports and get an answer out of it. There's that movie and book called Moneyball, where they do that.
Yeah.
The Oakland A's decided that they were going to start using data to make their decisions, and it turned their team around. So I thought that was really interesting.
What was that called? Moneyball?
Moneyball,
Moneyball.
Moneyball, yeah.
I feel like I've heard of it, but I've never like learned about it.
It's a good movie. It explains how it all works.
So did you play a sport in high school? I'm like trying to remember. It was almost 10 years ago.
swam.
Crazy. Oh, right. You swam.
Yeah, so I was on the swim team.
That's so cool.
Can't really use the data in that as well as you
Yeah.
can in other sports, I think.
Right.
I've never really tried, but I've mostly done it with football and basketball.
Football and basketball. So which one, if you were to like watch a sport, which is your favorite go-to sport?
That's a good question. I love them both, but it's nice to have a team here, like the Jazz, so you have somebody to root for.
Yeah.
We don't really have a team for the NFL, so
That's true. I never really thought about that. I guess college football is where we get our fix, I guess.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, I love college football.
So what else are you passionate about? Math, sports, statistics?
I would have to say my mustache. I'm
That's
passionate
a
about my
pretty
mustache.
Awesome mustache.
Thank you.
It's
I've been
thick.
fighting against my family members and some of my friends to keep it, and I've won the argument so far. So that's
No,
why I still
I
have got
think
the mustache.
it's a whole vibe. Ian, you are a vibe.
Yeah,
That looks cool.
I've shaved it off a few times, like for job interviews, I think.
Yeah.
But other than that, I've had it for the majority of the time. I've been back from my LDS mission.
That's awesome. Where did you serve?
I was in Bentonville, Arkansas.
Arkansas.
But I was in most of the time I was in Missouri. So
I feel like I was telling my family the other day, I was like, some missionary friends, I forgot who it was, either in Texas or Arkansas or Louisiana, like would find armadillos and kick them and they would just ball up. That wasn't you, was it?
no, but we found a ton of armadillos. They were gross.
Yeah.
They're like, because if you hit them with a car, it's like hitting a watermelon, and it just like splits open. It's really
That
gross.
sounds awful. Ooh.
They are gross. There's a lot of roadkill.
So, are you a fan of Southern food? Does Missouri? No, did you say Missouri, Mississippi?
Missouri, yeah, because my mission was Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri. And I think some of those people consider it the South.
Yeah.
And so we had some really good food. I always tell people that I had a Thanksgiving dinner like 3 nights out of the week. Like for my whole mission,
Wow.
it felt like that.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it seems a lot better than some of my friends that were in like the Dominican Republic or even Russia. I don't know if you guys got fed a lot.
At times, and it was all mostly gross.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some foods that I haven't been able to eat since just cuz I just can't do it. I'm working on
Oh
it.
really? Like what?
Watermelon, oddly. I couldn't do watermelon for a few years. I'm back on it and it's good.
Oh good.
Dill, the flavored dill, couldn't do. Can't really do that unless it's like very well done. Like if our I work at a salt company and if our chef is using dill, it's usually pretty good with whatever he makes it in. Like some cabbage and mayonnaise stuff, can't do. Can't do.
Yeah. I can understand that.
Yeah. Meat, fat, jello. Yeah, there's a lot. But so, Ian, I'm trying to think the most important thing for listeners to hear out of today's episode. Like you are just a very would you say eclectic? I don't know. That might not be the right word. But there's just so
I
many ways we could go with this discussion. What were you going to say? I cut you off.
Oh, I was just laughing. I was like, I guess I'm an eclectic person, so I've got a
That's
lot of
not
interests.
that's not the best word. But I want to start with you also have a podcast and I want to let people know about it.
Oh, thank you. So my podcast is called The Weekly Boom. It's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And my friends that I have, some of them are Japanese, and they told me about this idea in Japan that well, there's actually a word for it, but I can't remember because I don't speak Japanese. But they said that people will be generally interested in something for a week, and that's like your weekly boom. And so I've been kind of tracking my weekly booms. So and then what I do is I have the guest come on the show and tell me about their weekly boom. So if we were doing right now my weekly boom, I was just telling Natalie that my weekly boom has been the way that the United States uses execution methods in prisons. It is a very strange thing to get interested in, but I just found it and it was interesting.
I mean,
and kind of sad.
it is super interesting. I'm sure the electric chair is still a thing.
Yep.
And being shot. Oh.
Yeah. So the last one that we had in Utah was a guy named Ronnie Lee Gardner, I think, and he wanted to be shot instead of lethal injection. So he was the last person that we executed in Utah, and it was by firing squad.
Oh, scary. And then lethal injection. Oof. But like, what's the quickest way to die? You know, I guess. And do they get to choose? You said he chose to be shot.
Yeah, the reason he chose to be shot was because of his Mormon upbringing. There's this weird belief that some people think that in order to receive forgiveness, you have to die with bloodshed. Really weird section of the church, but it's not true. But it's called the blood atonement, and so some of these people, some of these people believe that they have to shed blood in order to be saved. And so that's why he chose it and why he was able to, because it was a religious purpose, a religious reason.
Okay, there was a psycho member on my mission. He was our ward mission leader. And I remember one of our ward mission leader meetings, he started talking about the blood atonement. And like, it's all in Russian, so I'm only picking up bits and pieces here and there. But our district leader, after he was like, pay no attention to anything he just said. That's all false doctrine. Like, don't even think twice about it. So I didn't. But like, it was the weirdest meeting. And I was like, what is he talking about? So yeah, that's bizarre.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the death penalty is still a thing, right?
Yeah, still a thing going around. Most people do lethal injection now. There's the electric chair, and then there was let's see, I have it in my spreadsheet because I started doing some data science on it.
Wow.
So electrocution and lethal injection are the largest ones. There's also gas chamber, which they don't do anymore. And then firing squad and hanging, which they don't do hanging anymore either. So
oof. Well, yeah, that is a very interesting weekly boom. So on your podcast, I'm going to segue here. Do you share your weekly boom as well as your guests' weekly boom? So we get an Ian weekly boom every week.
Sometimes, unless the guess is a really good one and that we talk about it for a long time.
Okay.
If maybe it's like a shorter one, then I'll include mine.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't always have a weekly boom, but most of the time I do.
Yeah. Well, that's fun. I'm trying to think. I guess for me, it's Tuesday. Yeah, it is Tuesday. I'm trying to think. Since last Tuesday, what have I been focusing on?
Hmm.
My mind is kind of drawing a blank.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
I
it could
haven't
be any.
really done much studying on anything. Sometimes I go down rabbit holes and just start reading random articles or Googling things, but I haven't done that this week. I always like to read articles about sleep, how much sleep we need, cycles, circadian rhythm. That's always interesting. But I don't know a ton about it. Um,
That could be a weekly boom. That sounds like
online,
something that could be weekly boom.
I'm like online shopping. Just kidding.
Yeah, or that it could be that
Um,
too. Yeah.
I feel like I was researching something the other day, but I am drawing a blank. My work is all about staying hydrated. That's fun to study.
Oh yeah.
Salt and electrolytes. Other than that, I've been pretty low key lately, just focusing on work and life. And I guess dating comes up a lot, just navigating relationships, as well as there's a book I've been reading about dating that's kind of fun. My work does culture meetings, so I guess a focus this month is what was the title, like working less to work smarter, or it was like you don't have to try so hard. It was just talking about
Hmm.
like if you're paddling upstream versus downstream, and it's like some things in life, yeah, are hard and it feels like you're paddling upstream, but like at what effort is that costing you versus if you find a different direction and you're still paddling but you're downstream, so it's flowing, it's finding what stands out to you the most and getting in that zone where you can create magic, so to speak, because it's something you're good at and you're working at it. So, kind of the idea of it's less work because it's something you're naturally doing.
Right.
Yeah. What do you
I,
think? Go ahead.
I was gonna say that I wish I could work more like that. That's a good idea.
And yeah,
I'll have to read that book.
we were just talking about lots of examples with it. It's just a TED Talk. I can send you the TED Talk. Um, but we were talking about like sometimes you watch someone playing sports. We'll go to sports, like someone swimming, and it looks easy. You're like, wow, they just swam 10 laps, like no problem. And it was good form and it was flowing. And I've never felt this as a swimmer. I'm not a swimmer, but my boss was, or the president was talking about like when he swims, sometimes he gets in a flow and it just feels natural and easy and you're just going. And just, I thought back of, oh, you need the skills to help you do that though. So it's like skill based to help you get into a flow. You know, maybe some painters who are maybe more skillful, they can get into a flow and like nothing else around them matters because they're in the zone, you know? So I've been trying to
Hmm.
think about like what is that zone for me and what are those areas that I like naturally do? And it's just like our gifts we're given. But do you feel like math and statistics is that for you?
Sometimes there's definitely some that are really difficult for me,
Mhm.
but there's also some that just kind of come naturally to me. I remember when I was in my first calculus class, I was on tracks and I was coming back home, and I thought to myself like this just it's like a puzzle. Like I can just do this in my head basically, and it just like the pieces came together, and that was like my flow was that lower end calculus stuff.
Okay, so what came together? Can you explain calculus for me? I
I
don't
I can try.
I don't think I ever took a calculus class.
So the thing that I was let's see if I can explain it.
Hmm.
So that if you have like a curve on a graph, there's a space underneath the curve, like the area underneath the curve, and you can calculate what that is using an integral, is what it's called.
Okay.
And I was doing these integrals to like calculate the area underneath the curve, and that's when it just like all clicked for me. A bunch of these pieces came together. I mostly attribute that to my teacher, Peter Alfred was his name, and he
In
was a really
college?
incredible teacher. Yeah, this was in college,
Okay.
he was a really incredible teacher, and he was able to teach us in a way that just made sense, and he gave us all the pieces, and then we can put them together.
Hmm.
So a lot of it for me came from my teacher to get into that zone.
Hmm. That's cool. But when you're in your zone, like you were saying, even with your weekly boom, you started putting it in a spreadsheet to calculate things. Like that for you just is second nature in a sense, right?
Sometimes, yeah. I put it in a spreadsheet so I could try to do some data analytics on it to see what method was used more. The data that I found also included the food that they ate right before they were executed.
Oh, the
So I wanted
last
to do
meal.
something with that. Their last meal, yeah.
What were some of them?
Let me read some of them. Like sandwiches and donuts and a milkshake and a chocolate sundae, French fried butter, jumbo prawns, ravioli, a flask of Jack Daniels, a T-bone steak,
I would
hamburgers.
do a steak and fries.
Yeah, I think I would probably do. Yeah, a steak would be pretty good. I'd probably do a burger from Cheesecake Factory, but
I've never had Cheesecake Factory burgers.
oh, it was pretty good.
Hmm.
I would recommend it. That could be next week's weekly boom. It is so good.
That could be actually. I love Seven Brothers burgers. You could go and just test all the burgers. I think
Yeah.
food tasting's always a good time, no matter what you're trying and figuring out. I think everybody loves to talk about food.
Yes, that's true. Even these people that were about to be executed, they all wanted some food.
And it's interesting to
They're
think
ready to
about
grill.
like the prison going out and getting prawns. You know, like just on their deathbed. That's just bizarre. There's so many things that are bizarre in our lives, but or just in society and the government and the FTC and the CDA. Like I watched a whole documentary about Lyme disease and how the CDC has just brushed it all under a rug, you know? And it's just like these people are suffering and nothing's being done. It's insane. So yeah, there's a lot of
Yes.
things. And I'm not necessarily political. I feel like I do have opinions, and if you get me on a roll, then I start to be like, was COVID all just a government controlled thing? Like, yeah, no. I get on spoofs, and my coworker, he's fun to bounce crazy ideas like that off, even though like he believes them all. It gets me thinking. I feel like you're similar. Are you?
I definitely like to hear about conspiracy theories, but I don't really believe any of them that much. Maybe some of them, like that aliens are real. I think
Yeah.
that's probably real.
I don't think
But
we walked on the moon.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, how do you think they did it?
I've seen too much evidence that we didn't. Hashtag Bryce Lund. He has conspiracy PowerPoint presentations that he gives to people. And yeah, the moon one, there's just so much evidence. Like the shadows are wrong in the pictures, they're formulated. There's even a video of was it Buzz Aldrin? One of the astronauts. This girl was asking, "Why haven't we been back to the moon?" And he was like, "Maybe because we never went."
Oh
But he
man,
also was in old age and like, maybe losing his mind a little. But the fact he said that, I'm like, yeah, I guess we'll find out when Elon Musk goes to the moon to see if a flag is there or not. But I think
yeah,
my friend like goes through like the Soviet Union and America and our country's morale and like how we were feeling and like the Soviet Union had won in like certain areas and we're climbing the ladder in maybe nuclear warfare and certain things. So it's like the USA knew we needed a win and we needed a win fast just to like show our power as a country, and they faked the moon landing. I mean, it could be real, but I mean, I like to believe the best of our country, right?
uh-huh.
And,
Yeah,
and like, if it was the best to fake it, then I believe that.
yeah. I definitely I'm not on the moon landing is fake idea yet, I guess, but I believe that aliens are real, and I think the government pushes that under the rug. There are way too many like videos of people filming UFOs in their backyard, and then like recently there have been some congressmen that said like, no, we have alien spacecraft and dead aliens, like we've seen them, and
Wait, you're
so
kidding.
things like that. Yeah, things like that
Wait,
are
send
pretty
me the
nuts.
UFO videos. I like this stuff.
That I see them all on Reddit.
Oh, yeah,
So
Reddit. Reddit's fun.
maybe people are fabricating them, but that's where I would recommend viewers should go.
And we have aliens. It's just crazy. There are so many government secrets that it's like, why even bother? they're there, but it's like, how does it really affect me? It doesn't,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
but it's still fun to know. I have an episode lined up in the future with my coworker who believes in Sasquatch, Bigfoot, and she's seen footprints and seen him in her backyard, and she will come on and tell her story and why she believes. So that'll be really fun to think about, as well
I'll
as
watch out for that one.
my producer's uncle. I'm working on getting him on here. He's on a board in Vernal for paranormal activity within the Mormon culture, kind of. Um,
Huh.
I'm kind of terrified, but I think it would be interesting. Paranormal stuff freaks me out. I do not touch that area. I would rather touch aliens versus paranormal stuff, but freaky,
Yeah, the
freaky stuff out there.
paranormal stuff is freaky to me. However, there is one place I really want to go. It's the Winchester Mystery House. Have you heard of this?
No, and I don't know if I want to, but go ahead.
There's no, it's not that bad. There was this. So the Winchester rifle was invented in, I can't remember, like 1860s or something like that. And Mr. Winchester died, but his wife, Mrs. Winchester, I can't remember what her name was, but she had these dreams that these ghosts of the people that were killed by this rifle would come to her and say, "You need to build us a house." And so she moved to California and built this house, but she built it in a way where the hallways go nowhere and the doors open to nothing. So to confuse the ghosts. I just did air quotes, but and they built this thing until she died, and it was like this huge mansion in San Jose, California, and I would love to visit it. But people say it's like, yeah, but it's full of ghosts, like a house for these ghosts.
That's cool. I
But
definitely believe in ghosts. I don't like to think of paranormal I like to separate paranormal activity with ghosts. But like when I was on some plantations in Louisiana just taking tours, like one of the tour guides was like, "Yeah, my mom used to work here as a little girl, and like the mistress of the house is still here. She hears her around sometimes, and like the lady who like owned the plantation the last, like her ghost still lives there." And I'm like, "I'd believe it, but it's so scary."
yeah,
Or there's a ghost at the Lehigh Roller Mills. I got a tour of that facility, and they were talking about the ghost, and like I would believe that too. Just ghosts live where they want to live, I guess.
yeah, just hang out, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been to any of the scary haunted places, but I would like to, just to check it out. Maybe I'll go to the Lehigh Roller Mills. That's what I'll have to try out first.
Go at night, sneak in the back. I don't know. I mean, don't. I didn't say that here. Okay, I'm gonna pivot from this conversation too. This episode's a little all over the place, but I'm assuming one of your passions is talking to people, and I wanna dive into why for you. Like, I mean, we both have podcasts. We both pull things out of people in different ways. So what about that makes you excited or like lights you up, I guess?
I really like hearing people's stories. Everybody has a story. Their life is a story, whether they know it or not.
Yeah.
And they have things to share, and those things that they share are usually exciting. On my podcast, I had one of my friends on, and he was telling me all about a similar thing. He was talking about aliens, but it was interesting to hear his stories because I don't think I would have got those stories any other way.
Yeah. Yeah. So with stories then, like what about the stories? Like do you think they're important for other people to hear? I want to know more about your why.
Um, it some of them are important for people to hear, I think, but sometimes it's just entertainment. It's just entertaining to hear what people have to say. There's a lot of podcasts where people just tell their story and talk about how they've gone through life, and it's fascinating, but it's also just plain entertaining. But there are some things that people include in those stories that others may need to hear.
Yeah.
Maybe things to learn from them.
Totally. I mean, that's why we have biographies, autobiographies. I mean, Matthew McConaughey's Greenlight book is so fascinating just to hear about his life. And I'm sure everyone, like you said, everyone has a story, famous or not, like your neighbor, just sit down and start asking them about their life and you'll learn so much. And I feel like that kind of spurred me into like, when I ask people to be on my podcast, some people are like, "Oh, no, I have nothing to say." And I'm like, that's a lie. You have everything to say. You just don't know it yet.
Mm-hmm. It's true. Yeah, it's interesting to get people on a podcast and just give them a microphone to see what comes out. 'Cause it could be anything. And
Yeah.
so in my podcast, I don't really try to force it out of them, I guess, but it just kind of shows up sometimes.
You let it flow.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I am a little bit of a steamroller, so sometimes I like if I get hooked on like an idea they're talking about and I just share every thought I have on it. But other times I slow down a little bit and I feel like it's so much fun to have a discussion and ask intriguing questions that lead them to share a story and then just be like so enthralled. Those are like the episodes that do the best because I'm enthralled as the host. So of course my listeners will be as well, you know. So it's a matter of
Hmm.
facilitating that. Anyways, this is kind of a fun little behind the scenes of the podcast world. Yeah, I love talking about this, and I think it's connecting. Entertainment is connecting too, you know, especially if it's story based. I mean, the best entertainment is a story, right? I mean, in marketing, they
Yeah,
tell a story, you know.
right. Yeah, it's a story can go a long way. Like there are stories that people have shared to my friends, and they shared those stories to me, and then I share the story to other people. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what stories are all about.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's I don't know. I like it that you mentioned we learn from them. You know, we can get entertainment from them. You know, scary stories people love. I mean, it like gives you an adrenaline rush or whatever, but also like important to learn from people's mistakes as well as people's successes, what got them to where they are now, like the journey of it all. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, what other thoughts do you have? I want to keep picking your brain a little bit.
Let me think. I guess with statistics, I do a lot of sports statistics, and
Yeah.
that's kind of a story in itself as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was that.
Um,
Yeah. Tell us more.
so the first round pick of the NBA draft this year was a kid named Victor Wembanyama. I don't know if I pronounced his last name right. Wembanyama,
Okay.
and he's like 7'6", super skinny, but he can like tear up the court and he does really well. I looked through his statistics from a couple of years ago yearly to see how well he was doing, and you can see growth in him every single year. So you can kind of predict that this year, if he did, or if last year if he did this well, then next year he's going to do even better. And so that kind of is a story there, like something to watch for in that particular player and that
Huh.
team, the Spurs, to see how well
This player
this
does.
this new guy is going to help them.
So,
Um, we'll see how it goes.
with these data, do you feel like you could be a recruiter for a sports team using the sports statistics, like for players like
That
that?
Yeah, that would be awesome. I would love to try something like that. I probably would stick behind the scenes with the team,
Hmm.
and work with the players and the coaches individually.
Okay.
But
Like
I
helping
would
their
love to be
own
a recruiter.
stats. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's really cool. I'm trying to remember. I know you've posted you do like NBA drafts or brackets or competitions, and I haven't dove into it, but tell us just a little bit about that.
So last year I did a competition where people could predict the number of points scored in all of March Madness.
Whoa.
Um, so it would require just a lot of studying to figure that one out, or just a random guess. I think the guy that won was just a random guess, but I tried to use some of my data modeling tools to predict it, and I was way low. But so I've done that.
Hmm.
I've done just normal March Madness, people
Yeah.
submitting
Their
their
teams, their
picks,
brackets. Yeah.
and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of
Cool.
fun.
I honestly didn't know this about you. I think I knew you liked math and were really good at math, but other than that, yeah. I mean, we were definitely in the same friend group, but I really didn't chat with you a whole ton. I know your mom. Our moms went to high school together.
That's right. Yeah,
I feel like
that's
I
right.
chat with your mom more than you. That's okay. And your cousin. I'm really good friends with your cousin.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just seen what you've posted on your Instagram, and you're running like ultra marathons and stuff, which is crazy to
I
me.
did one. And there might be more in the future, but yeah. Okay, so with everything we've talked about today, we've went a lot of different directions. What do you feel like is an uplifting takeaway for yourself and for others to know?
I think it's to be curious. I think a lot of people out there might be nervous to dive into something new. They might be nervous to try out some new things.
Yeah.
But by studying things that are interesting to you, you might find that that might be your career, or it might be something that's a story that you want to share with people. I think for me, being curious about data has led me to a point where I've kind of found a new direction in my career, and it's really helped me out.
Yeah, it's amazing. Some people would look at like data science and not connect it to a story, or find it boring or like data science, like, but like hearing you and like your curiosity and things you can use with the data science, especially in sports, is so cool. And I think it's a whole new element people don't really think about. So it was fun to hear a little bit about that. I think my takeaway for today, I'm trying to think with what resonated with me the most, but probably just everybody has a story, and trying to pull that out from people in a non-intrusive way, like just
Mhm.
let people get excited about whatever they're sharing. Or yeah, that's always sometimes my goals, especially with quiet people. I like to ease in and try to get them to come out of their shell just a little, just because I think it's cool, because I know people have a lot to them than meets the eye. I also, it makes me want to be one of those people. Like, I want to maybe be less myself, I should say, and like have a more mysterious shell because it's fun. But I'm like, that is not me. But I think it'd be cool to do that. And yeah, I think it's what something draws us in about not knowing about someone and then all of a sudden like uncovering it. I think that comes with curiosity, and with any type of thing you research and find, it's uncovering information, right? Or
Hmm.
speculation in some cases.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
well, we are going to have a segment continued on Ian's podcast. So, if you want to hear me and Ian chat some more and learn more about Ian and what he's passionate about, as well as whatever weekly boom I find at that time, tune in. What's your podcast called?
The weekly boom.
Oh, yeah, The Weekly Boom. I just said. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's little episode about curiosity and sports statistics and everything else we talked about. It's hard to sum it all up, but it was fun to just see where the conversation took us. And that's kind of what life's about, just having those conversations and learning. So thank you, Ian.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, we'll talk to you all next week. See ya.